How does this background look? Does it look horrible?
Pull you back up. Can you move the iron?
You mean the ironing board?
Yeah. No, the iron.
Can I move it? I'm moving it. I'm moving it.
So, welcome back, everybody, to the Menswear Mindset podcast. I am one of your hosts, Louis Jeremita, and we are accompanied with our friend
Austin Robertson of Gentleman's Avenue, co-host of the Menswear Mindset podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to the show. Today, we're trying up a little bit of a different format. Me and Austin are trying to turn this more into a show rather than a ramble session, or even just like a podcast where we're just talking about like one or two topics. We're trying to broaden our horizons, trying to talk about the menswear mindset of things, as well as what's happening in the industry. Does that sound pretty fair, Austin? Does that sound like a summation of what we're doing?
You nailed it. First try.
Let's go. Also, we are, I don't know if we've discussed, are we going to be doing podcasts after this one, or this is the last one until the new year?
We may do another one coming up. That'll be a mystery, a little Christmas mystery for everyone.
Check your stockings. We might be there.
How do you check your stocking for a podcast episode?
Well, I guess we'd have to be like an NFT that you would buy and then put onto a device in your stocking.
It's just a little. It's just like a little piece of paper. It's like, hey, go to Apple iTunes.
It just has the QR code for our podcast. We'll be sneaking down your chimneys and delivering those personally.
Right after Santa Claus.
Right after. Let's see. Does that look stupid? It's not even plugged in, so yes, it does. Anyways. No, so this first part, we just get to talk about what's been going on. What's up? How's Austin doing? What's new in your world?
So, we just began our holiday hours for Christmas. We're, getting ready for that. And, just longer days. And it's odd because I feel like we're living in a fantasy world because business has been so great. Now, I know that sounds odd, but I mean, I've never seen business like this. I mean, October, November, we've done the best, October, Novembers that we've had ever. And we're on pace to do that for December. So, we're having really great months. We're meeting really great people. I'm beginning to have more closet consultations, build with business owners and, movers and shakers in the DFW area. And it's been great. Unfortunately, what we're running into is like many people in the retail space is, supply and shipping. If the item's there, it's going to take forever to get to you because of shipping. If you want something like ordered, then, it may not be there and it's probably back ordered until like March or April. And it's just it's freaking crazy. So, just trying to navigate those waters. I had a conversation with a guy I made some custom shirts for, and, he ordered 4 shirts and half of what he ordered wasn't available. And he was just like, man, this is so frustrating. And I go, I know, I'm so sorry. And on the inside, I'm like, man, I'm the middleman. I can't do anything about this. But, because we're in the service industry. So, through that time, I'm going, it's not that I want to be right in the situation. I just want to serve my clients and go, I understand that you're frustrated with this. I'm doing everything I can to make it better because I want you to get exactly what you want. So, but it's a great time. I'm trying to find those things after work that, are just relaxing and have a just kind of have a pressure valve release. And, I've missed doing the podcast. We've been trying to, schedule a time to get stuff, locked in. So we're excited for the new year. We got some great things coming down the pipeline. So those are some of the newest things. One thing to mention is my Instagram has been blowing up.
Oh my gosh, it has been.
Like I've been posting, predominantly reels, and I've got one that almost it just surpassed 800,000 views as of yesterday, and today is December 8th, and it's crazy. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. So, it's a new challenge to find out like what people like, what they don't like, but also remaining true to yourself. I posted one yesterday, and it seemed very hashtag menswear-esque because I'm in front of the camera and I'm like, moving my jacket and adjusting my cuffs, and I'm going, I don't want to look like a menswear bro, but the lighting was just super good. And I'm going, I'm just going to record something and get it out there. If it sucks, I'll learn from it
You were
later.
feeling
So,
yourself. What can you say?
well, I had a peacock shirt on, and
Exactly.
like a literal peacock shirt.
He was
Super cool.
peacocking in his peacock shirt. So it'd be
No,
actually
sorry, pheasant shirt.
pheasant. I think it would be
Pheasant.
fun though to find out how many people who may be listening to this podcast are coming from Austin's account that has discovered him through his reels. So if that's you and you're listening right now and you're like, oh, I discovered Austin through his reels, leave a like, comment, let us know. I think that would be interesting to see how many new people get to find the podcast through Austin's reels. But
Tell us about you, man. What's new? A lot of new things have changed for you. I mean, your world has almost been flipped upside down.
Yeah, it feels like it. And it's kind of interesting you talking about finding a way to like pressure valve release. And I think that might actually be a good topic for one of the podcasts is like, what do we do outside of menswear that kind of gets our goat, if you will? Because for me, there's a lot of things that I want to be doing that isn't menswear, but it's like I don't have time to do. But no, that would be an interesting conversation. But yeah, for me, it's kind of crazy. For those of you watching the podcast, we're in a new studio doing some new stuff. Got a cool new background. This is the custom desk. This desk isn't custom, but we do our custom consultations here. We got the book.
You do custom furniture?
We do
Man,
custom
you're
furniture.
doing everything.
I am Amish. But yeah, it's been pretty crazy. Social media has also been going pretty good on the YouTube side for me recently, which is kind of mind-blowing.
Did you pass 10K yet?
We did.
You're
last night.
there.
We were at
Dude.
9,999 subscribers last night, and I posted it on my story. I'm like, who's going to be the one?
Vitaly, add like some sparkles and confetti and everything right now. Just like go crazy. We're having a party.
So I'm going to start trying to post clips of this on that channel to, again, try and siphon some people over. So if you're watching this from following me on YouTube to finding the podcast, leave a comment that's how you found it. But yeah, new shop, social media is going well. Got a team of people we're working with, just trying to get things off the ground for the most part. In fun news, I don't know when this podcast is going to come out, but late January, me and Austin will actually be together in Texas recording live. I mean, we'll record in late January. We'll see when we get the podcast posted. But there will be an episode with the both of us live. I'm going to have to try and find a way to bring my equipment down.
I'm going to see for Christmas if I can actually get some podcast mics.
Ooh, let's go. I mean, this mic right here costs like $100, so it's not that bad for like
that's easy
for like a gift. But we also have to pray, guys. Everybody, can we just take a moment to pray that Austin can get a laptop for Christmas, please? Dear Lord.
Okay.
Please.
I want to clarify. I have a laptop.
If it doesn't work, it doesn't count as a laptop.
But we don't know if it doesn't work yet. I've got to take it to my IT guy to see if it'll work. And then I think it will work. It may just need a new battery. I'm just hoping he doesn't say, yeah, you need a new motherboard and this whole thing is fried and you need to get a new one. Great.
Well, why don't you just buy the battery and plug it in and see what happens?
Well, I don't know if it's like good or not yet. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Usually there's a power button on those things. You can hit it, and if it turns on, it's good.
We're not talking about my laptop. We're talking about you. Move on.
Anyways, leave a comment if you want us to talk about Austin's laptop. We'll let the viewers decide. Anyways.
An episode of you roasting me for being unprepared.
Well, it's just, I mean, if you got one, let's get it going. I think this is going to be really cool.
I know.
But anyways, moving on. So we're moving into the menswear portion of it. And the way we're going to do this going forward is me and Austin collectively, maybe even some help of some other people who are going to be joining the team, hopefully, will send us some links, some articles for us to read up on, and then we're going to discuss it. So this one that we have here, I'm just going to pull up on my iPad just so I can see it. It's from the Rob Report, talking about how
Mm-hmm.
pleats are back and they are more stylish than ever.
Mm-hmm.
And we just want to talk not particularly about this article, but this article is kind of like the view of where menswear is at and kind of what's going on and how pleats are coming back and how we're seeing a resurgence of a lot of these classical menswear designs coming back into the mainstream. And I think it's worth talking about.
Yeah, it is. I saw that post, and there was a gentleman. His name is Paolo, and I mess up his last name. I jack up his last name. But he's a young guy. I think he's like in his late 20s, early 30s. He's worked for Paul Stewart. He worked with Mark Ripon, who is back in the day a business partner with Alan Flusser, and so he's got a lot of experience in bespoke. And so when I read this article, he was talking about how he is a fan of the double forward pleat,
Mm,
which I also am a fan of the double forward pleat. I have like a couple of like single pleat. Well, I think only one, and then like two or three pairs of like double reverse, but I just prefer the double forward pleat. And he said, I think the double forward pleat, when it's worn, because what's super important about the rise on pleated trousers is the rise.
yeah.
It's got to be higher. It's got to be more towards the natural waist. Too many guys wear their pants on their hips, and that's where they wear their jeans. You're going, no, dress trousers are supposed to be worn higher, and it's more comfortable that way. And I got a couple of my guys into pleated trousers, and they go, man, I really like that. Like it feels super comfortable. So it's cool when they see the difference. And even Ralph Lauren is coming back with I can't remember what their model was called, but man, I wish I could remember what it was, but it's actually a double reverse, double forward pleated chino. And there was one guy, I think it was like Noah Jeans. They did like a pleated jean. I'm not the biggest fan of that. I think that's a little too far, a little too trendy, but it's cool to see how it's coming back because it does have function. Now, why guys didn't like it for so long is because like Dockers, it was all low rise pleated trousers. It was all dumpy and just didn't look good. So it's cool to see how a classic, we're more classically inspired, how that classic design is coming back into modern day. So now technically the trend is pleated
Yeah.
trousers.
Which is so funny, and I was just talking to Austin about this on the way in, and I was like, it's weird because I used to be against pleated trousers. I just thought they looked kind of dumpy. I think they looked old manish, and that was mostly because all of my experience with people in pleated trousers were those people. They would get like the super heavy like cotton trouser with the pleats that were like way too big in the hips and way too wide, and it just looked dumpy to me. But Austin, a couple of years ago, um, was really working on me like, no, dude, pleats are cool. And Austin always wore pleats. And I was like, I don't know, maybe. And he got to me, and I finally got my first pair of pleated pants this year. And the only reason it took so long was due to lack of funds. But, and I love them. And it's kind of funny seeing, like, and I mean, pleats have been semi trendy for a little while. I mean, the whole 90s look has been a trend. But the fact that they're straight up just saying, like some of these people in this article are saying, just go get pleated pants. Like, wear pleated pants now is kind of like evident to how the shift is. So it is kind of weird because I was like, Austin was onto this well before anybody else was. So I think it's cool, but I also think it is kind of like the beacon of the skinny pant is now dead, which I
Mm-hmm.
am totally on board with. I'm okay with not ever having another guy ask for a slim fit pant. Um, Although we know it's going to come back, it always kind of circles and goes and blah, 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 blah. But what I think is interesting is it seems like the trends for menswear um, are heavily built around like a rebellious nature, which
Yeah.
is kind of interesting. And the reason I say that is because like every trend that reemerges is usually like a generation removed. So pretty much
Hmm.
what the people are saying is, I don't want to wear what my father wore. My father wore
Yeah.
pleated pants. I will not. Give me the skinny ones. And now this generation is like, my dad, like growing up with millennial parents, my dad wears slim fit skinny pants. I don't want that. Give me the pleated ones that my grandfather wore. And then the next
Yeah.
generation is going to switch back and be like, hey, my annoying
Yeah.
Zoomer dad wore pleated pants all the time and looked like he was from
Zoom.
like the 1950s. Like, ew, give me tight again. Or they'll even go even further and go, give me even wider pants. But so I think that's
Yeah.
kind of cool to see that cycle, because um, I've been saying for a while that classical menswear is almost like the new like biker look. Like it's the rebellious look,
Yep.
because everybody's doing the funky, crazy, goofy patterns and street style that it's like it's so tired nowadays. Um,
Yeah.
I had a guy who came in during my grand opening, and he was wearing like a pair of plaid pants, and they were kind of baggy, and he was wearing like this baggy hoodie, and I was like, he's probably thinking that he's looking like really like trendy and cool, but I was like, it just looks like you're everybody else. Like everybody else before you wore the baggy hoodie and the baggy pant, like, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, why not try something that's going to make you stand out, that's going to make people be like, oh, why is he wearing that? And even though it is the more preferred option to wear to events, we're getting off of
Yep.
pleats a little bit, kind of talking more about the broad mindset. It is a rebellion when, yeah, you're supposed to wear a suit to that type of an event, but nobody else is wearing it. But I'm still going to choose to wear it because I'm going to show
Yeah.
respect for whoever is having it. Or it might not even be out of respect. Sometimes it can just be like, I just want to not look like everybody else in the room. I don't want to look like a dud, so let me change some things up.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, you made a good point because we said this, I think even last year, maybe even the year before, but now the guy in a suit and tie is a rebel.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're dressing up because you want to, not because you have to. And so we had talked about this before. I put a three-piece suit on order, and as long as the fabric's there, it should be good. But it's a charcoal three-piece Holland and Sherry Super 140s, 280 gram, beautiful cloth, and it's kind of got like a little bit of a shark skin texture. And I've worn pleats for so long, and I went, I want to try something different. So I actually went with a high-rise flat front, and I'm going to do a plain bottom trouser. And I started thinking about it. I'm going, you know what? Like for the longest time, I found flat front plain hemmed trousers to be extremely boring. But I think it's either in the way that you wear them in the fit or the details that you add could add some style to them. Like, if you're doing a chino, like I also ordered just a pair of cotton trousers as well. But if you're doing just, a chino, do a wider pick stitch on the side of the seam and then do like a coin pocket on the front or something
Yep.
like that. Just making it look different and just giving it some fun. I don't think you necessarily need like a pattern, but just something to kind of break it up. And now guys are more comfortable with, it's not necessarily standing out, but for the last year and a half to 2 years, guys haven't enjoyed dressing up and they never really wanted to dress up, but they've missed the sense of occasion
Mm,
where they had to dress up every day for work. Now they're wearing their sweats every day if they're working from home, or offices are going like, oh, let's just go more casual, which I don't think is a really good idea anyway, but that's beside the point. But I think guys are just kind of, it's feeling
yeah.
dull. They just want something different. And if you look back to the golden age of the 20s, 30s, and 40s, those guys looked amazing, but they also looked comfortable in their clothes. And the biggest thing that I'm trying to reiterate to my clients right now is there can be a beautiful balance of form and function. That's why I talk about pleats, because they look good. The trousers drape. I mean, you can still get a shape, like a little bit of a taper down below the knee to the bottom, a little bit of a shape, not too much, but it gives you the comfort at the same time. It's this good
Yeah,
blending.
absolutely. Time out for 1 second. Let me reset my camera. We're back at it. So, and the other thing I think is cool, and I forget who is at the bottom of the article, who they were referencing to, but they were talking about even if you're a flat front like purist, you don't want to do anything but a flat front. Try and, like Austin said, try some different elements, or even just get it a little bit bigger, cut it a little bit wider.
Yeah.
You don't need to have it pull across your crotch.
Yep.
Like it's a drum. Now, hopefully, most of the people listening to this podcast kind of already subscribe to this type of lifestyle in terms of not needing everything super trim and cut. But if you're not, consider this a wake-up call.
Absolutely.
Think that being said, and it being said that we have about 15 minutes left of this podcast, let's move on to our second topic. Let's talk about Brooks Brothers. I have no clue if they're from Brooklyn. This is another article by Josh.
Your segues are impeccable.
Condon? I think is his name. Condon. Writing about how Michael Bastian in Brooks, like recreating Brooks Brothers' most iconic shirt. This is more of an interesting topic just because I think what Brooks Brothers is going to be going through with Michael as a lead of the creative department is going to be interesting. But also changing one of their most iconic shirts is definitely a bold move, I would say, for most people. But some would say that Brooks Brothers needs to make bold moves because they haven't been doing so good in the past couple of years.
Yeah.
And I just want to start off with asking you, Austin, what do you think their downfall was? Being a company rooted in so much history in classical menswear, what do you think it was that really turned them down? Because I feel like they have a structure that's like almost impenetrable, or they should.
Well, I think their history has really helped them out a lot because they've been around for almost 200 years or something like that. Yeah. And, I'm going to compare them to J Press, and I find J Press a lot more exciting with their cloths, with their colors, with their style choices. If I didn't work in menswear, I probably would buy some stuff from J Press. I wouldn't go into, like, I walked into a Brooks Brothers the other day, and they had like one small little rack of like clothing, and I went, like, that's all the suits you have? Everything was more sportswear and things like that. And I'm going, okay, but it didn't really seem exciting. It didn't really seem innovative. And so I think that's one of the downsides of Brooks Brothers, because I mean, you can still take a classic piece and mix it up a little bit and have some fun. Now, a couple of years ago, they did like the banded bottom and like the you kind of like the scrunched up like waistband on like a skinny suit that's got stretch. And I'm like, that's just not Brooks Brothers. Like, you've got to stay true to your identity, but add a couple different seasonings. I mean, still it's a steak is what you've been doing. You've been making steaks forever, but just add a different flavor, because if everyone eats the same thing, it's going to be okay. Like there's nothing different to it. So, from the outside looking in, and again, not as a consumer of the Brooks Brothers product, it just seems they were selling to the same, 60-year-old lawyer who, is in a conservative workplace. He wanted like a black Navy suit and wanted to wear his black Oxfords with blah, 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 the same thing over and over. So it just didn't really seem innovative. I think Michael Bastian is going to be a good addition. I mean, you saw what he did with Gant, with even his own brand, the collaborations he did with Uniqlo. I've always really appreciated him as a designer, and how he was talking about the button-down Oxford's, shirt. He even did a video, I think it was with Mr. Porter, like, I don't know, in like 2009, 2011 or something like that. And he was talking specifically about the Oxford sport shirt. And he said, I think it looks best, like, if you wash it, put it in the dryer, don't even iron it, just like fresh out of the dryer, put it on. And he goes, I think it looks great with the double-breasted blazer and a pair of jeans. and he was wearing it like that, and it was like a striped
Mm,
Oxford cloth, and it looked super good. So I think, he's still taking the base, which is the Oxford cloth button down sport shirt, but he's mixing
yeah.
it up a little bit. So I think that's going to be good, because he said like they're still keeping the 6 pleats on like the sleeve, the pocket staying, but like something else he's taking off. He's going to be changing it up a little bit and kind of refreshing it, which I think will be good, because guys don't want to do something too different, but they don't want to do the same thing
Yeah.
over and over and over. Like I had a client the other day. She's like, "Oh, I don't want a dress shirt, but I want a sport shirt for my husband. I don't want to do blue or white." So I'm showing her these different patterns. Oh no, he would never wear that. That's too crazy. Okay, what about this? Oh no, he wouldn't wear those type of colors. And I'm going, okay, you don't want something crazy, but you don't want something something's
Yeah.
got to give here a little bit. So I think when you blend that together an Oxford cloth shirt is always going to look great, but maybe if you extend the points a little bit, maybe you raise the collar band, do a French placket instead of a standard placket, whatever that may be, just change it up just a
Yeah, and
tad.
I think what he's doing with it is cool. He's simplifying it. He's not doing as many fits as before. But what I really got out of it was when he was talking about the pink that they had chosen and how intentional he was
Mm-hmm.
with the type of pink he wanted in the shirt. Like he was like, I don't want any yellow in it. I want it to have a hint of blue. And I was like, dang, this guy is like really diving in on this pink, because to
Yep.
him, Brooks Brothers made great pink shirts. Um, but no, I think it's going to be really good. I do think, yeah, that Brooks Brothers. I think two of the things that they did that they needed to change was, one, they stuck with what they did forever and they didn't try and adapt it like they're doing
Yep.
now. Um, as well as it
Yeah.
became almost too accessible to everybody. Like it just, the
Yeah.
name just started going everywhere, which is a great thing for the company. That's what you want, but I don't feel like all the time the quality remained the same throughout. So to meet the demands of the masses to get their product, they mass produced it. They really pushed it out there. At least like the Brooks Brothers store that I went to and some of the Brooks Brothers suits that I've thrifted over the past year, to me have just been like, like I feel like I'm wearing like a cheap Calvin
Yeah.
Klein. Like the fit might be a little bit better, but like the fabrics don't feel like they're there. They seem pretty chintzy. But that was just my idea of it, and I feel like if you kept your brand image of being high quality, American made, like that kind of stuff, I think that would do well for them. But again, it's a huge company. I don't know
Yeah.
how to run one of those yet.
Well, also I think that they stuck with the skinny lapel for too long. I mean, they're
Yeah.
still selling, more of a narrow lapel, like 2.5, 2 3/4, maybe three. And again, I haven't been in one for a long time, so I could be completely wrong with saying this. But when I went in last time, everything was the narrow lapel, and I'm going, that's really been out
Yeah.
for
And
about
I'm like,
4 years.
that's what you chose to adopt.
You're Yeah. And so, it's a little more refreshed, but also you're seeing things become a little bit more exaggerated, like a slightly wider lapel. I'm not talking like 4 inches, like what I'm wearing here, but like 3 1/4 to 3.5 is classic.
Yeah, I
That
feel like
will
that's
like run
standard.
forever. A great example, exactly like a great example. Simon Crompton of Permanent Style was talking about lapel widths, but how it translated to Savile Row. Now, whenever things in the 70s were really wide and exaggerated, like 4.5, 5, almost 6 inch lapels, like, they were almost going past the shoulders, crazy stuff like that. And then also in the 60s, when they were, 2.5 inches, how did Savile Row adapt to that? Well, the standard is about 3 1/4. We'll just say 3 1/4 is the standard. When everyone was doing like 4.5, they extended it to like 4 5/8, 4 3/4, like 3 5/8, 3 3/4, which was just a little bit like quarter to half an inch wider. And then when everything was really skinny, they did like 3 1/4, or like 3 1/8,
Mm.
3 1/4. So it was very minor, but I mean, they still like ebbed and flowed, but it's Savile Row. I mean, that's going to
Yeah.
go, forever, but they were still staying relevant in their designs. So you're trying to find this balance of staying true to yourself, but
Yeah.
also staying relevant. And I think, unfortunately, I mean, we've had experiences with this and working in men's specialty stores. Unfortunately, a lot of, one of one stores do the same thing for so long. And part of the reason is, well, we've done it for this long. We're just a well oiled machine. We're going to just keep doing this
No.
because we've always done it that way. Well, if you keep doing it this way, you'll be irrelevant in the next 5 years and be
Well,
out of business
which
in 7.
God, no,
You
sorry,
know,
didn't
it,
mean to
you're,
cut you off.
no, I was just going to say that, like, that's unfortunately the mindset a lot of specialty store owners have is they try to be either too trendy or too conservative. You've got to find a balance. Sometimes it doesn't always hit, but if you're showing your clients, you're not just selling one thing, you're selling a variety of things, but it's still staying core, true to your core nucleus, then I think
Yeah,
you're
well,
still
and
in a
I
good
think
position.
that even goes to a broader industry thing with people in menswear specialty stores, especially, is a lot of the ones that I've met are very much doing it for it being a job. Like they don't really care much about menswear. They did it because their father did it, or they just got into it, and it is what it is. And they're almost looking to like retire. So for them, they don't care if they keep the status quo for the next 5 years and then they become irrelevant because they're hoping to retire in the next 5 years. And I think that's
Yep.
what has really been part of the downfall. And I don't even lend most of it to the internet. Taking out small independent retailers, I just blame it on the retailers who are older and not really caring anymore, just getting lazy and allowing their
Yeah.
position to shift because the internet is more convenient. The internet is more accessible, more accommodating. And in some stores that I've witnessed, the internet has better customer service than an in-person store because they just suck at their job. Um, so I think that's kind of a shame, and I think that Brooks Brothers, in a sense, was kind of feeling the same thing because not that they were looking to like shut the
Yeah.
brand down anytime soon, but it just felt like that, like we're doing this because this is what we've always done. Like there's no real passion behind it until now,
Mm-hmm.
where they're starting to make changes. It's like, oh, like this is a brand that I could get reinterested in.
And without sounding too, morbid, I don't mean to sound crass at all, but the typical Brooks Brothers customer
Yeah.
is either dying out or they are retiring. They're not wearing the same thing that they did before. So that's why you go, okay, this has been a core customer for a while, but it's not going to be that way forever. And so, for such a typically conservative brand, it's hard to innovate without going too crazy. And you got to
Yep.
think of like the next wave of customers, guys our age from, like early 20s to mid later 30s. That's kind of your customer now. And, some of the 40s as well. But we're going to be the next future. And so I think ties aren't going away. I think they're going to become a sense of expression. And so you still do need ties, but not as much as you may have needed before. And more, I think our mindset of our generation is we do want something quality because we saw so many guys buy stuff, so cheap. And I'm seeing so many guys, like I made a TikTok about this not too long ago. A guy came in with 2 K&G suits and the salesman sold him a size too small. And I said, man, like go return this and just get the
Yeah.
next size up and we can alter this. But it was essentially a plastic suit. I mean, they were all poly viscose spandex. And I'm like, man, this is not good. And some guys want the style, but I think a lot of guys are going, man, this just doesn't feel good. So when some guys come in for a consultation, what I do is I show them like the good stuff without telling them the price. I have them feel it and understand what the quality is. And then when they hear the price, they're going, "Oh my gosh, why is that $2,000?"
Yeah.
Oh, well, I understand. Oh, the quality. Okay, that makes sense. Even though that's not my budget, now I understand why the $1,000 suit is $1,000 and it's a better value for me. Even though I was buying $300 at first, I'm now more comfortable spending $1,000 because I understand why a $2,000 suit is the way it is. It's not about a bait and switch and trying to. I mean, yes, we're in sales, and it's a business, but you want to add value to your customer, because being in small business, you need to make sure you're at, you're offering a fair price, but also a fair quality product. You're offering it to your customer and showing them why it is the
Absolutely.
the price that it is.
And I think, unfortunately, we've hit the 9:30 mark, and my camera battery is almost dead. So I think we should wrap up, talk about what's coming.
Yes.
Again, podcasts hopefully becoming more regularly. We're going to try to do these on the
Mm-hmm.
bi-weekly basis, as we said before. Looking for some sponsors, so if you're interested in that, please check it out. Email us, message us. But just thank you guys for
Absolutely.
watching, for being here. Let us know what your thoughts are. Go check out the articles. We'll try and link them below and all of where we post all this. And just
Mm-hmm.
let us know your thoughts. Thank you for being here. And I'm Lewis from Aspiring Gent. Austin, go ahead and leave them with your words of salutations.
My words of salutation. Well, as always, guys, super grateful for your support. Thank you so much. Like I said, you're trying to build this because we're passionate about what we do. And so, really looking forward to offering you some great content, some great episodes coming up. So follow Lewis at Aspiring Gent, like he said. Follow me at Gentleman's Avenue. Also, go check out
Yep.
our YouTube page and our Instagram page. So it's just the Menswear Mindset. It's tagged in my bio. I believe it's tagged in Lewis's as well. Go check us out, show some support, and we will see
Love
you on
y'all.
the next episode.